Hello and welcome to the 23rd Annual Garden State Film Festival. My name is Emily DeSimone, and here with me today I have Queen Stewart, co-director, producer, and subject of the documentary feature Sense of Urgency, here with her co-director, Senna Wilkerson. Queen Senna, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Doing good.
Of course. Congratulations on being accepted and screened at the Garden State Film Festival. Please, I would love for you to tell our audience a bit about your documentary feature.
Queen, I
Yeah,
say go for it. You go.
let me go. I'll jump right in. Well, sense of urgency is it's a story, and it's a life story, a moment in time, taking you through my cancer diagnosis, my treatment, but then my journey to find joy. Breast cancer was an opportunity for me to really look at my life and to put it in perspective. And I did it in really amazing ways. And with the help of my production team, we were able to put this story together in documentary form, where it takes you with me into the doctor's office, into my life, into post cancer, into singing, into comedy. It is a full story about one person, me, one person's travel through cancer, but into a life of joy in a nutshell.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing such a personal part of your life with us. Senna, what is your, relationship to Queen in this making of the documentary, as well as perhaps in your personal lives?
Yeah. So we had Queen just found us because of the work that we did for MD Anderson Cooper University Healthcare over in Camden. And that's where Queen was getting treatment. And because we had done some work with patients and putting out little internet stories and doing the commercials on TV, Queen found us through some way. I don't know exactly how, Queen. You can kind of embellish if you want, but that's kind of how we got into it. And it was something that just we get this email out of the blue, and it's something that we had been wanting to do, follow a cancer patient through treatment, and multiple cancer patients, because you don't know what's going to happen over the course of that time. And so, but we just it's a hard thing to do, to find support from the institution and to get in and do it. It's a lot. So it was just a little seed of an idea that we had been wanting to do, and here's Queen's email, and so we jumped at the chance. And I think my takeaway, just to build off what Queen said in her answer before, was that yes, it started out of cancer, but I don't think that this is really about cancer. It's about and if you watch the film, Sense of Urgency is more about anybody can relate to anything, because we all have passions in our life that we've let go for various reasons, because you grow up, because it's a dream of a kid, and life happens and you got bills and kids and whatever. But to try to get back to that, like, what brings you joy? And so that really connected with me, I think, over the course of making this film. In a surprising way, this film kind of was like, as Queen talks about, find your joy and just do it. Just get out of yourself. Just do the thing. Don't worry about it, just however small. And for me as a filmmaker, it was kind of similar. I was able to do this film, and not something I ever thought I would be able to do. And, and so it was a great sort of just thing that just sort of happened, and we made it happen, and we did it, and, it was great. So, yeah.
Queen, how did you end up finding Senna?
Literally, like she said, I saw a commercial. I saw MD Anderson commercial. MD Anderson Cancer Hospital is with Cooper and Camden, like Senna just said. And the commercial was so pretty. So like, I had the idea, and I interviewed one or two production companies before sending the email, but it wasn't, I could tell that it wouldn't be the vibe, and I could tell that it wouldn't be the quality I wanted. When I saw the commercial, I knew this is how I want the documentary to look. And I found who did it. It must have been, I don't know how I found Point of View Production. I don't know if it was in the commercial somehow, with the internet. And
Yeah.
I'm a millennial. I'm an elder millennial, but but I found Point of View and just sent the blind email. And like, when they responded to me, maybe in a day, I was like floored, because it told me that they are just as interested in what I'm telling them than I am. So it was like, oh, like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
If I may, so what was it like for you, Queen, to be so vulnerable and put what you were experiencing not only into a film to be videotaped, to be documenting this whole experience, but then to be putting it together afterwards? Like, what was that experience for you?
It was like therapy. And many times I've cried with Senna. It was super, super emotional. But at the same time, because I have children, I have two daughters, and at the time when we started filming, they were 2 and 6. It almost felt like mission for me too, to have something that would be there when I no longer was. So it became for me just a moment in time that can last, because you just don't know with the illness like breast cancer stage
Mhm.
3. So it was very emotional, but it also showed me that I can do anything if I push myself. Connections, the collaborative work, like we cannot do things in this world alone. So it was so, there were so many lessons that came from doing the documentary.
And Senna, for you, I mean, you have your background working in film, I take, and so I would love to know from your perspective. You were saying that you wanted to do something like this. So what was it like actually doing it?
Well, like Queen said, you learn a lot. And because we kind of took this on together and had a good working relationship with the hospital, we were able to get in and have access. And you learn on a small scale when it's just me and the camera. And, we had a couple times when we had a helper, somebody else shooting, but really it was just Queen and I for the majority of it. So like on the back end, I would say filmmaking wise, there's a lot of tips that I could throw out to filmmakers who are doing this on their own. And it's yeah, I mean, like release forms in the moment. That's what I would say. Like for anybody who's, doing a documentary, just get the release form signed in the moment. Don't follow up months later after the film's cut and try to get it. But just that's the number one thing. Somebody told that to me. I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. And, it's a scramble when you cut the scene, you have the film. And what if somebody doesn't like their scene and they're not going to sign the release? You got to pull that scene and your film crumbles and so that would be the number one thing that I would say to anybody making a film to do to get your stuff buttoned up, But yeah, I don't know. Beyond that, on a personal level, it's always just the inspiration that Queen, inspires people from her journey. I'm not, it was not lost on me either. I mean, it continued to inspire me to get out there and shoot. And how can we make this story? And what do we include? What do we not include? There's a lot of decisions too about that. But we had an idea. It was like, we'll just follow you for like a year, and tell your story for a year as you sort of go through cancer treatment and start to pursue the passions that you had wanted to pursue and didn't for some reason. So it's for Queen, it was stand-up comedy, recording a song in the studio because she loved to sing. It made me reflect certainly on things in my life that I could pick up again, or things that I wanted to do that I just never had, like playing the mandolin. I want to do that. I haven't done that, and I'm going to do that at some point. But it just little things like that can bring you joy. I think that was a takeaway for me. Is like, don't forget that stuff, especially today.
That's a really beautiful message to take, especially when you're facing such a difficult time of your life and you are wondering, will I ever really have the opportunity to be able to do these things? So thank you so much for being that vulnerable with us. So to piggyback kind of off of what you were saying, Senna, for both you and Queen, what would you say was your favorite part of this experience, and perhaps what was the most challenging part of this experience for you?
Senna.
Favorite part, I mean, it's meeting Queen, getting to know Queen and her family, Richard and the girls, in such an intimate way. You know, you have to tell any story that's worth seeing, I think. And when the camera's off, you know, like the camera's not on all the time, you know, and that's important. Let's see, the most challenging, Queen, I don't know. That's a tough one.
I know.
It's just a
I
creative
think
process, you know. It's you know, it's hard. The creative process is hard, but it's so fulfilling when you crack it. You know, like you don't know all the answers in the beginning, and that's okay. But you sort of figure it out together, and it becomes something different than what you maybe thought in the beginning. You know, it always does.
You know what? I'll start with challenging for me, and I know, Senna, that you'll know exactly what I mean when I say this. There were moments when we were, I think this is mostly at the end, like post-production and putting it all together, where I had issue with how certain things were being put to light with family members. So for example, am I putting the right light on a certain relative? Am I going to make someone upset? Is the story getting across exactly how I would like it to? And Senna, as the filmmaker, often had to like speak to me and say, well, Queen, this is your story, this the purpose of this, right? And many times I had to talk to myself and say, that's right. You know, it was challenging because I'm worried so much about other people, but facts are facts, life is life, my story is my story. So that, I would say, probably was one of the most challenging. And it's similar to my book as well. Like with my editor, we're figuring out what am I keeping in. I don't want to you know, make anyone upset, and that's a me thing. But it's challenging when you're trying to tell your story but make sure you're not, you know, upsetting the people you love. I think that was the most challenging. And my favorite part, this is going to sound maybe vain, but the camera and running around and having, just feeling like the superstar, especially as I'm going through chemo and radiation. You have to imagine what I was going through while in active treatment. So to have that bit of star feeling was a relief, and it was a release. So that probably was my favorite part.
It might have been a little distraction too, like a welcome distraction. Like it gave you something to think about, you know,
Yeah.
other than what's going
Yeah.
on, you know.
Yeah.
Before I wrap things up, you mentioned something about a book. I would love to hear a little bit about this.
Yeah. Well, it's a working title, Sense of Urgency, the book maybe. But it's the story, but it goes deeper into my childhood traumas. Who was Queen before she got cancer, but who was she before she went to school, to college, to law school, being the first in my family to do so, and having a lot of obstacles. So it's more of in depth, but it also has gems after each chapter to inspire people to think about how they can really bring joy into their lives.
That's so beautiful. Do you have a possible release date for that yet, or still in the works?
Listen, if you may know better than I, but we're this year.
Okay. Okay, that's fantastic. Well, Queen Senna, I would love to keep you on for longer, but unfortunately, we are running slow on time. So, you guys, you can see this documentary feature, Sense of Urgency, and it will be screening at the Kingsley Ballroom on Saturday, March 29th at 2:30 p.m. Thank you both so much for joining me today. It was such a pleasure. Will I be seeing you at the film festival?
Of
Yes,
course.
you will.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Emily.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See you.